Hi everyone, it's Bethany. Welcome back. In this video, we are going to have fun with this brand new tool called the Stamp Forge Studio. And with this new gadget, you can create your own stamps. So this is really neat. And I want to show you how to use this. What I like about this is that if you're looking to create your own personalized stamp for the back of your cards, or if you're wanting to create some more personal stamps, whether for your address or for the holiday seasons, this is a really neat tool that you might want to consider. So let's go ahead and play around with this and I'll show you how this works. Okay, inside your kit, you are going to have a variety of items. So let's walk through each of them real quick and then let's get to creating a stamp. So in your kit, you're going to have a UV light. This is going to help us actually make the stamp, but it's also going to help cure the stamp. So this is a whole process and I'm going to walk you through every step. So you're not going to get lost, so don't worry. And then we have a pack of photopolymer plates. And inside of this pack, we also have some vinyl sheets. Now, the photopolymer plates, those are what we are actually going to create the stamp out of. And then the vinyl sheets are what we are going to put our design on. So again, we're going to walk through all of these steps, but I wanted you to note that the photopolymer plates, now those are going to be more of a green color. You're not allowed to expose those to light. It's not recommended. So you're going to open those in a dark room. But like I said, they also tucked in the vinyl sheets to this as well. Those are black and those can be exposed to light. Then we have this clamp case here. This is going to help us layer all of our pieces together to create the stamp, and you'll see me do that in a bit. This is what we will use to insert into our UV light to actually create the stamp. Then we also have a stamp positioner tool. They call this their stamp press. This is what we are going to use to actually put our final stamp on. So we'll place our stamp right here and then we'll press it down onto the paper that we insert inside. And we also have a roll of double adhesive tape, and this is going to secure our stamp to our little window here. This is a stamp pressure tool. This is used if you need a little bit more pressure when you are stamping your image onto your paper. And then finally, we have a scrub brush, and this is going to help us actually create the stamp once it has gone through the UV light process. All right, so that is everything that you are going to find in your kit. So let's go ahead and start creating our stamp. Now, you are going to need some type of cutting machine. So I have a Cricut, and I'm going to use my Cricut in order to create my stamp. We're going to need a cutting machine because, again, we are going to cut out our design on the vinyl, and that is how we are going to create the stamp. So let's go into Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to create my stamp. Let's just create a few stamps just to have fun here, and then I'll show you how to design the stamps, and then we will actually create them with all of these fun products. All right, this is Cricut Design Space. Again, I have a Cricut machine, so that's how I'm going to create my design to cut out on the vinyl. So here we have a little stamp that I created, or design that I created. I'm going to make this much bigger so that we can really see what we're doing here. Okay, so this says Handmade by Bethany, and why don't I just recreate this so you know exactly how I did this. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my shapes, and I am going to grab one of the free images. As you can see up here, they are free, and I'm going to grab a basic square. I am then going to size that down to 1 3/4. So I will just click on the width and I will type in 1.75. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to grab an additional square, and for just sake of visual purposes, I'm going to make this a different color so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to make this blue. And then I will size this to 1.65. Okay, now I'm going to layer these one on top of the next. So what I'll do is grab both of them by just dragging and dropping. I'm going to come up to a line and I'm going to say center. That's going to center each of my squares on top of one another. And then with both of them selected, I'm going to come down to the bottom right side. It's at the bottom of the layers panel. There's a button called slice, and I'm just going to slice one square out of the next and create this little border. All right, then I can just delete these two elements. And then I'm gonna go over to the left side and select text. The font that I'm using is called Simple Sarah, and I'll do my best to link it down below. But what I'll do here is I'm going to double click, and sorry, my screen is kind of jumping around a bit because my mouse kind of rotates it. Okay, so now I'm going to say Handmade, just like that. And there is a bit of a gap here, so what I'm going to do is come up to line spacing, and I'm just going to click that down arrow, and I'm right up here at the top. I'm going to create that smaller gap in between my lines, just like that. All right, so now I'm just going to size that down, or size it up a little bit. Okay. And then using that exact same font, I'm just gonna go over to my text once more. I'm going to type by Bethany. Ooh, Bethany. Okay, and then again, I will size this down just like that. All right, and I'll come over here and just make sure that I like the sizing of everything. All right, so that's roughly how I created that. I'm going to go ahead and use this one just because I did all of my alignments, but you're just going to get that all centered. So that looks pretty good. So an easy way to center this is you could grab your text. So I'm just going to click Command, and then I'm going to click both. That way it selects both of them. I'll come up to Align and say Align horizontally, and that makes sure they're just lined up just like so. Then I'm going to go down and I'm going to click Attach, and that puts those two pieces together so that they are one and the same now. Okay, then what I can do is select the outline of the border and the text, and then I will go Align and I will say Center, and that makes sure that's nice and center. Once that has been centered, I can select everything, and again, I'll come down and say Attach. All right, so that looks great. I'll just go ahead and use that one. So I'm gonna delete this one, and here is my first stamp. Again, my dimensions are 1.75 by 1.75. Okay, let's also make another stamp. So I'm going to do, I thought it'd be cute to say Love Bethany. So I'm just going to do heart. Okay, and then what I'll do is then I will type out my name once more. And these are to go on the back of cards. Or if you are creating tags, like say you make some t-shirts, then you could do things like hand wash only or created by your name. And you could just put little tags with your creations, whether you do mugs or t-shirts, anything that you create for other people. Okay, I'm gonna play around with this heart because I'm not really loving how that looks. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okay, I like that. And let's see if we can do a different font. Okay, this is a fun font called Brown Sugar, and I'll do my best to link these fonts down below. Oh, I think that looks adorable. Okay, so again, I'm gonna select these, and I'm going to say Align Bottom. Oh, that doesn't really work, does it? Because that's going to align the heart to the bottom of the Y. So I'm going to click this back button, and I'll probably just manually see where I'd like that. Maybe up just a hair. Okay, that looks good. I'll select everything. This time I'm going to weld them together just so it welds my scripty font there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is let's just create a shape. So I'm going to go to Upload, and I have a really cute flower here, which I think will be kind of fun. So I'm just going to create a little flower stamp. So when using your little vinyl sheets for your project that they give you, I think they're about 3 inches by 4 inches. So it's best if you can make a few stamps at the same time. So I'll make this about an inch roughly. Okay, and I'm going to make all of these the same color so it cuts out on one sheet. And let's go ahead and slice out the little middle part there. There we go. So that has a tiny little middle part. And we're done. Okay, so now we are all good to go. And if at any point, I'm gonna make this just a tad smaller. If at any point you feel like this is too fast for you, then just go ahead and pause and rewind until you feel like you're more confident to move forward. Sometimes the designing process can be a little intimidating, but just pause, slow this video down, and you'll definitely be okay. I also have some Cricut Design Space lessons on my channel, so you can check out those as well. Okay, I have my Joy Extra machine that I'm going to use, so I'm going to go ahead now and just select Make, and this is going to place my project right on my mat. So I'm going to put my vinyl sheets on a mat and click Confirm, and then again, it's about 3 inches by 4 inches, so I'm going to make sure, I'm just using my little grid lines, I'm going to make sure that those are placed. I'm going to give myself a little bit of room though. There we go. That should be just fine. Actually, because I know we're going to trim around there, I'm going to bring all of these kind of out just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to do something like that. Again, 3 inches by 4 inches. Okay, then I can say continue. Now the vinyl sheets are actually more of an iron-on vinyl material. So when I go to select the material that I'm using to cut, I'm gonna use an iron-on setting. So for me, I am going to use this everyday iron-on for my cut setting. I'll click that, and then I'm going to go ahead and load my mat and get this all cut out. Okay, so I have my machine here, and I also have my cutting mat. And again, if the design space portion of designing your stamps is just too intimidating, please just rewind and pause as many times as you need to feel more confident with that part of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up our packet here. And again, you don't want to expose those photopolymer plates. So I'm just going to open and grab the vinyl sheet. Now, what you're going to do is you want to take your vinyl sheet. There's going to be a shiny side, and then there's going to be a dull side. You want to place it shiny side down on your mat, and you are not going to do any mirroring. So do not mirror your image at all. Let me do the other way so you can see those dimensions. There we go. So it's actually just a little shy of 3 by 4. Okay, so I'm gonna go make sure in design space that that is going to fit on there. And yes, I allowed plenty of room. Just kind of squeeze them together just a little bit more. All right, and now what I can do is I'll load my mat. Okay, and it's just gonna measure my mat really quickly to make sure that I have enough material and that my mat is all aligned. All right, and then I'm going to click go on my computer screen in Design Space, and it's going to start cutting out my designs. All right, so now that is all cut out, I'm going to unload my mat, and then I can peel away my vinyl sheet. And there we go. All right, let's zoom in here. Now we are going to start weeding out our stamp design, and you're going to need a little weeding hook. So what we'll do here is we are going to weed out our design, and wherever you weed out or wherever you remove, that is what your stamp is going to be. So I created that Handmade by Bethany. So I will weed out wherever I want the stamp to stamp down. Okay, so I'm just going to very gently begin weeding the letters out. You're going to want to really take your time so that you don't accidentally weed out anything that you want to remain. And this is a little bit intricate and tedious, so you just want to really take your time. Okay, so the by Bethany part gets super intricate. There we go. There, you can see that. All right, and then I'm going to do, again, weeding out wherever I want my stamp design to be. I'm gonna do this little Love Bethany and being careful to keep the little pieces that I want to stay in the middles on there. Okay, and that's weeded out as well. So there's my second little stamp. And then this is the easiest of them. It's this little flower design. All right, there we go. Okay, so there are my little stamp examples. And again, I'm just making these for personal use. They're just for me to have some fun with. All right, let's move on to creating the actual stamp now that we have the designs of each of our stamps. Okay, so the next step is I am going to use this little clamp case to layer my design and my photo polymer sheets inside of. And this is going to be the case that we then insert into the UV light to create the stamp. So as a reminder, it says not to expose this product to the light. These again are the photopolymer sheets, so they are to be opened in a dark room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a dark room. I'm going to remove a photopolymer sheet. Then there is a liner, so I'm going to remove the liner off of the sheet, and then I'm going to do all of my layering in a dark room, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went into a dark room. Then I took the photopolymer sheet out. Again, it's more of a green color. I removed the liner, and underneath the liner is a rough side. So what I did is I put the rough side face up. Then I used my vinyl sheet, which is my design, and I put that face down so that the design is going to read backwards for right now. Okay, so again, we have our case, we have our photopolymer sheet underneath with the rough side up. Then I placed my design so that it reads backwards, and now we're going to put it into our UV light. So you can do this, I believe, anywhere from 3 to 9 minutes, and it has 3-minute increments right over here on the right. Because mine is intricate, especially this first and second one, it's a little bit more detailed and fine. Not necessarily this, but the first two for sure. I'm going to opt to do 9 minutes. So I'm going to turn this on. Then I'm going to click the 3 minutes once I get this inside. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this entire little case right inside. And I'm going to click the 3 minutes, and it's going to start counting down. So I just have this centered inside. It's going to count down from 3 minutes. Once it has counted down and turned off, I'm going to do that 2 additional times. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus another 3 is 9. Then we'll have 9 full minutes under the light. All right, it's all done. It sat under there for 9 minutes. So now what I'm going to do is open this up. So it definitely has a firm little fit there. Okay, and then I'm going to remove my design. And I would think that I could reuse this because essentially it's just the stencil. And then I'm going to remove this photopolymer plate. And I wonder if you can see, it's a little bit hard to see, but the design is kind of on there. It's a little hard to see on camera. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under hot water, and I am going to just, in a circular motion, I'm going to lightly scrub the surface. And what that's going to do is it's going to remove all of the area where my stamp is not present. So for a visual, it's going to remove all of this black area, and then what's going to remain is the area where I've created my stamp. So all of my design is going to remain raised on this plate, and everything else will just scrub away. Okay, it's very important that you do it lightly and in a circular motion. If you scrub hard and go back and forth, according to a video on HSN, you can kind of get more of a distressed look and get lines in there. So for a nice even impression, then you're gonna wanna do just a nice smooth circular motion. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I just finished running this under hot water and scrubbing in a circular motion with my scrub brush. I probably did it for about 5 to 10 minutes, roughly. I really took my time. Again, staying in that circular motion. If you turn it over this way, you can really see what the design looks like. But it's now raised where my stamp is going to be, and everything else is washed off. Okay, so now what I need to do is I'm going to put this back into my little UV light because now I'm going to cure the stamp. And again, because I did 9 minutes originally, I'm going to do 9 minutes once more. So I'll just place this inside, center it, and then I'll do 9 minutes of curing. All right, so it just finished up that 9 minutes of curing. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off and remove. And there we go. Isn't that neat? Okay, so now let's go ahead and test out how this stamps out. And I wanted to do 3 different stamps because I wanted to give examples of each one. So this I did for intricacy. That is a very fine and thin font. This one I did, it's still small, but the font is thicker. Definitely is thicker than our first one. And then I wanted to do a basic shape. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to grab a pair of scissors and I'm simply going to trim around my stamps. So it says, I think, to leave a 3 to 5 millimeter edge. I'm just going to give a little area around. And this is pretty easy to trim down. And this is also why I wanted to give some spacing around my stamps when I was placing the designs on the vinyl. Let me show you again. Ooh. Oh, it got a little tough. So here was my, once again, vinyl sheet. I wanted to make sure I had some space in between each one because I knew I would need to cut them out. So I know we want to always save material. I do too. But in cases like this, you really want to make sure you have enough room to cut around. So try not to get them too close together. Okay, I'm going to finish trimming these out and then we're going to get some ink on them and stamp them on paper. All right, so there are my stamps. Let's go ahead and give these a little test run. So what I'm going to do is, again, this kit comes with a little stamp press tool. They call it, yes, a stamp press tool, and then this is your pressure tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this double-sided adhesive, and I'm going to grab my stamp. This is the side that has all of the ridges on there, but I'm going to turn it over to the back side, and I'm going to add my adhesive there. And I'll just add a couple strips to this big one and then single strips to my other two. There we go. Okay, now you can attach these to any stamp positioner you have. I'm just going to demonstrate the one that they included. So now I'll just place these. Make sure I have enough room for all of them. I'm just going to test and make sure I have room. Okay, I'll place all of these on the back here so we can get an idea for the impressions. And again, this adhesive is just helping these cling to this side. Okay, and I am, just like I would do my stamps that I purchased, I'm just going to kind of rub that coating off. There's more of a coating, in my opinion, on the surrounding area and less on the actual raised stamp. Okay, then I'm going to take my paper, I'll place it right in here. I'm just going to double check that this all does fit. Yes. And then I'm just going to use this Memento black ink. So let's see how these stamp out. So I'm just going to generously add ink all over. And this is why you really want to be careful when you are doing the scrub brush, because if you rub back and forth too harshly, you can create those kind of bristle lines in your stamp. Okay, whoops. Just want to make sure. Get a little bit more ink just in case. Make sure that's all lined up. Missed a spot on my stamp. Okay, turn this around and press down. Now you can use this pressure tool as well, just to add some additional pressure. Okay, and then pull up, and there's the stamps. So I'm going to add some more ink to see if we can get some more contrast there. And this is, again, the first stamp that we stamp out, or the first time we've stamped them, so hopefully we can get some better impressions. Okay, so I'm going to make sure this is positioned once more right in there. I have another layer of ink, which on my stamps that I buy, I even double stamp them, so. But let's see if we can really get some contrast here. Okay, so this is what that's going to look like. I would say this one doesn't look too bad. The intricate part is a little bit, at the bottom, it's a little bit shallow, but I could keep restamping that and see. I really like this Love Bethany. It has a very distressed look to it. This one seems a little bit uneven, but I see that there is ink all over that stamp. What I'm going to do is I want to test these out with my Misty tool. I want to see how they stamp in this positioner, just to test all of the angles. Now, I tested this, or I made one yesterday, and this was my first attempt. And I wanted to show you this because I felt like the handmade part looked really good. In fact, so did the square, but the By Bethany didn't look as well. And I wanted to mention that when I was using my scrub brush, I went over and over the bottom much more than I did the top because I was trying to make sure I got all of the detail here. So I would caution you, when you are doing this, make sure that when you're using the scrub brush that you're scrubbing your entire stamp no matter what, because I feel like I maybe filed this down too much because I was focusing with my brush down on the By Bethany part, that it made it more shallow than the handmade part, if that makes sense. So when I was putting the ink on, this didn't get as much ink because they really weren't on the same level because of how much I scrubbed that bottom part. So that's something to be mindful of. I would say that all of this looks like it's on the same level. Now, I'm going to clean my stamp off because I just want to see how this would work in a different stamp positioner, one that I'm a little bit more used to. So I'm just going to clean these off just so I can remove them from this tool. And my Misty tool is what I use exclusively. So I just want to see how these would stamp on this tool. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to put my cardstock right in there. And then let's make sure these are dry. Let's ink these up again. Plenty of ink on there. Let's see how that transfers over. And I'm going to use this pressure tool because it seems like the stamps might be just a tad shallow than they are normally. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, they are. So what I can do is let's add something under here to build that up. I'm just going to add a few pieces of cardstock. Turn this over. Okay. There we go. They seem to be just a little bit more shallow than like a traditional stamp. I don't know. In my opinion, I'm just kind of working through this and troubleshooting how to get the good impression. Okay. Okay, a lot of pressure and not too bad. Okay, I'm gonna double stamp that. Again, I double stamp all of mine. Now, these aren't going to look, I mean, at least mine aren't looking completely flawless. Like they have a little distressed look to them, even though I did that circular motion. So, you know, maybe that's just the whole gist of it, that They're truly handmade stamps. So it's just kind of the look that they are. Okay. Not too bad. This handmade one still feels a little bit shallow, but that could just be trial and error with how I'm scrubbing the stamp. So I always like to keep it super honest. You're gonna see exactly how everything turns out. So I'm just gonna add one more, maybe adding pressure to that by Bethany part, see? But I think this idea is super neat on how you could create. Ooh, I think that got a little bit better with the by Bethany part. Okay, I think the idea is super neat because you can really personalize a lot of fun looks. This could be super fun around the holiday. So this is how those turned out. I think that was pretty cool. So that is a way that you can create your own stamps. So if you're looking to create your own handmade stamps, whether you want to add them to the products that you are selling or gifting to other people, then this is a really fun way to do it. I do think that I need some practice with it. It comes with a little bit of trial and error in my opinion, but I think just a little bit of practice with the technique. I think mainly for me, it would probably be the washing and the scrubbing just to make sure that that part is a little bit more perfected, but all in all, pretty good first try. Well, I guess second try because I tried a different one last night, but I feel like I got a little bit better with my impression. All right, everything that you see will be linked down below. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this and learned a little bit throughout this process. Please give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy watching, and I'll see you in the next video.